Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to call to order the March 9th, 2016 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit and Budget. Will the Secretary call the roll?
Yes, before I do though, would please everybody silence their cell phones? Thank you. Mr. Irvine.
Here.
Dr. Sen.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Youngblood.
Here.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales.
Here.
Chairman Silva.
Here.
The committee has a quorum of six members present.
Our first order of business is the approval of the committee minutes of February 10, 2016. The minutes were previously distributed. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Will the Secretary call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Irvine.
Yes.
Dr. Sen.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood.
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales.
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Our next order of business is the review of the finance report. Tom McCone and Jeremy Fine, new CFO. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, board members. I'm Jeremy Fine. I'm proud to join the CTA team after spending 13 years at City Hall and in the investment banking community prior to that. I look forward to a very productive and effective working relationship. And I'd like to thank Tom and the rest of the finance team on getting me up to speed very quickly. This morning, I'd like to highlight the following. The first up is the budget update for January, and then the authorization for the TIFIA loan for rail cars. As outlined in the information before you is an outline of the budget update. And first up, we'll walk through the revenues. Farebox and pass revenues are up. We're seeing this continuing to track trends with higher rail ridership on a local level and what we're seeing nationally as well. It's slightly offset by lower bus ridership. On the fare subsidy, we're seeing that down to budget, and this is continuing. This is due to continuing inaction in Springfield with the remittances of the revenues from the state. We expect this trend to continue until a budget is in place. With regard to non-farebox revenues, we're seeing those flat to budget, but slightly down to January 2015, and that's due to non-recurring revenues such as TV or movie related fees that come in and intermittently depending on those activities. So overall, revenues are slightly down, and again, that's due to the lack of remittance from the state for those fare subsidy dollars. With regard to some trends, I'd like to highlight that the average fare is slightly up. And again, this tracks to the fact that we're continuing to see riders going directly to rail, and the cost differential between that pass versus bus related fares is slightly higher. So you're seeing those average fares tick up slightly. With regard to free riders, we're seeing that, again, due to better weather, we're seeing that the free rider program has had a slight increase. Again, folks are out more mobile now than they were during the polar vortex. With regard to ridership trends, again, on a local level, it's mapping what we're seeing on a national level as well. Rail ridership is up, and bus ridership is slightly down. What we're seeing is that, due to continued congestion in large cities such as Chicago, that folks are choosing rail over bus at times. And then what we're also seeing is that due to the fact that gas prices have been basically cut in half, that we're seeing folks making decisions with regard to bus on that front. With regard to expenses, we're seeing labor slightly unfavorable. This is due to overtime with regard to construction and weather-related events. On the material side of the house, we're seeing slight favorable variance. That is due to the mild weather, as well as some utilizing some purchases that we made last year, being able to carry those over into 2016. With regard to fuel and power, we were able to lock in rates slightly below the budgeted amounts, as well as we're benefiting from lower usage, particularly on the fuel side of the house. Provisions for injuries and damages and security services are coming in basically as expected. And then other expenses are shown here as favorable, but just I'd like to highlight the fact that that is really due to the timing of contractual expenses, and we'll continue to see how those progress, and they should normalize throughout the course of the year. Overall, we're slightly better, but basically flat to what we expected through the budget. I'll now open it up to any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, I want to just make sure, so in terms of fuel, we're all locked in for FY '16, right? 100% locked in terms of the price.
That's correct.
Have we started locking in fuel for FY '17?
We are in the process of starting that, and we will be coming back with more information, but we are starting on the process for 2017 now.
I'm seeing it starting to inch up a little bit, so.
Any other questions? In
Just the
the,
last question for me
Go ahead.
around the state. Are we hearing anything from RTA in terms of, do we see an end to this, or?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, we continue to track with the state and see when remittances should be expected, but again, it's all tied up with the budget, and until there's a budget passed, we do not expect to see those additional revenues flowing through. You know, there is an outside chance, you know, that other things could happen, side bills put in place, but again, you know, really it's just tied up with the budget, and we're expecting, as everyone, that hopefully that situation is resolved quickly.
and how much do we have in our own budget, okay? What percentage, okay, are we counting, okay, that they will send us?
So we, it's about 28 million or so of state revenues that we expect on the annual
So that's
basis.
50%, about 50%.
And we're estimating that we'll receive 50%, as you indicate.
For the labor, is that pertaining to the bus more so than the rail when you talk about overtime?
It's more on the rail side, and due to construction projects primarily on that front.
I notice, okay, that RTA, okay, is owing us more money. Is that part of the same problem with the state?
Yes.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
I'd like to- not a question, but a recommendation.
Okay.
That, you know, in the future, it may be good to give us calendar-adjusted figures for ridership and revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can put both in there so that it's apples to apples. Yep.
Otherwise, I've got to sit and do that.
I like that you stay there, please, okay, because we're gonna make a little bit of a change in the next order. The next order of business is the review. We will need to, is the review of an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 014-050, authorizing the borrowing of money through a TIFIA loan and issuance of TIFIA bonds not to exceed the 350 million, and the maker of other provisions with respect to say TIFIA loan to fund the rail fleet renew project. Jeremy and Tom will be presenters, but we would like, okay, to have the presentation of the rail cars, okay? Helen, you can join us. And I'd just like to pause, okay, if we have any objection, okay, that they're going to be presenting all of us from my board members. If there's no, okay, we are going to start, okay, with the presentation of Jeremy and Tom, please,
Thank you.
the TIFIA.
With regard to the TIFIA loan ordinance, there was originally an ordinance that was passed in 2014 authorizing the railcar TIFIA loan. That ordinance, along with the other two previously completed TIFIA loans, really highlights the fact that the CTA has been able to tap into a very successful TIFIA loan program for the 95th Street Red Line Station, the Your New Blue project, and then here with regard to the rail cars. This is a fantastic program that the CTA has been able to benefit greatly on, and I'll highlight that in a minute. With regard to the amendment before you, this ordinance tweaks the 2014 ordinance in a couple of ways. First is it amends the issuance date of the loan from 2014 to 2016. It has a reciprocal impact on the final maturity that's associated with the loan, and then that also slides back to 2056. And then finally, it amends the number of series for the TIFIA loan from 1 to 2. This allows us to fund the Series 5000 cars that were previously purchased, as well as the purchase of the Series 7000 cars on different schedules. The benefit of the program is consistent with what we've seen before on those other two projects that we funded, and that's primarily the cost differential vis-a-vis traditional muni bonds. We see that differential approximately 1% to 1.5% better than if we were to access the traditional muni bond market through our own credits. It also provides more flexible schedules and structures. And that means that we can map the repayment of the loan more closely to the in-service dates of the car deliveries, as well as the useful life of those rail cars. The passage of the ordinance will allow us to close the TIFIA loan with USDOT by the end of the month.
We are going to move right now, okay, you can just
Okay.
wait before we do the questions, to the presentation by Helen Reese of Purchase Order A5.
Ellen McCormick, Vice President of Purchasing and Supply Chain. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here before you this morning to ask for your approval of an ordinance which would authorize the CTA to enter into a contract between the CTA and CSR Sifang America joint venture for the purpose of purchasing up to 846 rail cars. On October 16, 2014, the CTA advertised its RFP for the manufacture and purchase of rail cars and received 2 bids in response on May 29, 2015. The bidders were Bombardier Transit Corporation and CSR Sifang America JV. Both responses were reviewed and evaluated by an evaluation committee with respect to the criteria listed in the RFP. Both proposers were found to be in the competitive range. The 2 proposers participated in a best and final offer negotiation process with the CTA, and upon conclusion submitted their best and final offers, or BAFOs. The evaluation committee reviewed and evaluated the BAFOs based on the same criteria used to evaluate the initial proposals. The BAFOs submitted by the 2 proposers offered very similar technical proposals and benefits to the CTA. The CTA determined that both proposers were capable of manufacturing the rail cars. The recommended proposer submitted a BAFO which is over $226 million less than the other proposal. Award is recommended to the responsive and responsible proposer, CSR Sifang America, which submitted the proposal determined to be the best value to the authority. The contract lump sum consists of the base order of 400 rail cars for $632 million. Option 1 for 156 rail cars for $237,120,000. Option 2 for 100 rail cars is for $152 million. Option 3, also 100 rail cars, also $152 million. And option 4 for 90 rail cars for $136,800,000, plus one-time future escalation adjustments to the contract price for each option. Don Bonds can provide you with specific information about the technical design and features of the proposed rail cars.
We are going to take questions for Ellen first, and then we do with you, Jeremy. Okay.
I think, Chairman, I think that Mr. Bonds is going to be part of this
I'm sorry.
presentation on A5.
Go ahead, please.
Right now, yes.
Good morning. I'm Donald Bonds, Vice President of Vehicle Maintenance. Today, I'm going to discuss some of the features and advantages of purchasing the rail cars. The purposes of this project is to purchase a base order of 400 new modern-style 7000 series rail cars with an option of 446 additional cars. The base order of 400 cars will allow CTA to replace their 2600 series rail cars, which are currently between 30 to 35 years old. The 2600 is currently the CTA's oldest set of rail cars. The current age of the CTA's rail fleet today is 16 years old. When the CTA received the last of the 400 car base order, the average age of the rail fleet will be 13 years old. By retiring the 2600s, the CTA will save nearly $6.9 million in operating and maintenance costs. Also, please note that the current fleet age of our peers are as follows: 25 years for WMATA, 27 years for the Boston, 18 years for BART, 22 years for the New York City Transit System. Our projected timeline for this project is we will see 10 prototype cars in October 2019. Completion of the prototype testing will be completed in October of 2020. Assuming that no issues or minimum delivery rate, we should start receiving 10 cars per month after the testing is complete. The completion of the base order of cars should be completed in 2024. Also, some of the enhanced features that we will see on the 7000 series are as follows. We will see a new interior and exterior design for a modern day look. We will new seating configuration as a result of studies that was performed by the CTA Planning Department with input from the public. Seating will be a combination of some of the 5000s, mostly 2600 and 3200 series seating style. We will have LED interior lighting, new exterior design lighting, improved door features. Also, there will be an upgrade to the chime system when the doors open for people that are visually impaired, where they may be able to see the doors when the doors open. This chime will be outside of the vehicle. Enhanced customer communications. There will be a full color LED destination sign, messaging signs, GPS triggered announcements. This is very similar to our current 5000 fleet. 2 LCD screens with maps identifying train location in the center of the car, which will be widened to the aisles. That can alter between maps, public service messages, and advertisement. We will also have an enhanced video system. Our current system of 5000 have 9 cameras. This car will have a minimum of 11 cameras. We will also do some enhancement to the safety systems, which will be addition to the operator alerter system, which if there's no activity with the master controller by the operator, it will automatically put the car in some type of braking mode. We will also have a 6 miles per hour speed limit. Once the car is inside of a certain parameter of the storage yard, the car will automatically go into a 6 mile per hour slow down speed. We will also, with the emergency door handle, when it is pulled while the vehicle is in service, it will activate the brakes. At this current time, our current fleet, when the passenger pulls that handle, the car goes into coast mode. This will allow the car to go into a braking mode. It would not be emergency brake, it will be gradually go into a braking mode. Also, this car will also have a more environmental friendly type HVAC system, which means we are currentently using R22, which is a refrigerant that damages the ozone. So with the 5000s, we went to this R407, which is a ozone depleting refrigerant, non-ozone depleting refrigerant. So we will also use the same type in our 7000 fleet. For repair parts, as part of the contract, we will receive a number of capital spares, which would help us with any issues that might pop up as far as trying to get parts availability. And that list consists of major components like trucks, propulsion systems, door systems, all that will be a part of the capital spare, which is a part of the contract. Also, the part of that contract will consist of the training for operators and training for our maintenance personnel to learn how to use and not use the car. And also inside the cab of the vehicle will be more enhanced than our 5,000 fleet of vehicles, which you will have a better touch screen, which allows the operator more troubleshooting techniques along with the maintenance personnel. As far as comes to payments, this is going to be more than a quarter. 28% of the payments to the vendor will be set up to reflect specific milestones. So that they will not get a large chunk of money up front. This is based on milestones. So as they complete milestones that we lay out in the contract, that's how payments will be paid to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, please?
I have a bunch of questions, actually, maybe to Mr. Barnes. How old will our oldest car be, you say, when the last of these are delivered?
Our average fleet age will be 13.
Yeah.
13 years.
What's the oldest car?
What will be the oldest car will be our 3200s, which is currently going through overhaul right now. It's
So what
257.
would be their age?
Their approximate age, I believe, will be around 20 to 25 years. But we are currently, like I said, we are doing an overhaul on those vehicles right now.
Now, Ellen mentioned that there were two bidders, and were the components more or less the same for both? There couldn't be that many component manufacturers.
You talking between the two vendors?
Yeah,
That's a question that Ellen may be able to
Yes,
answer.
they were,
they were mainly the same.
exactly.
Now, when these cars are built, do we have people overseeing the construction?
Yes, we will have, just as we did with the Bombardier contract, we will have, our CTA personnel will be on site to assist and to evaluate the
So
performance.
basically, we're getting the two bidders to produce for similar cars, one much cheaper than the other. Have I got it right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, when you're talking about the individual cars, do we have something that will, I think you mentioned it, but I didn't catch it, that would, if there's an obstruction, it would stop automatically?
Not stop it automatically. That
6 Mile I forgot, but it won't come to an exact stop.
If a passenger pulls the emergency stop that's located above the doors, it will cause the car to go into a braking mode. Not emergency brake where it stops real quick, kind of gradually goes into a braking
But how
mode.
about when it reaches, like somewhere where it should have stopped and
Well, that would
the
be,
operator makes a mistake?
that would be inside our yards. When we get inside the yards, the storage yards, it goes to 6 miles per hour. And so that will be set up based on GPS. So when the car gets into a certain distance of the yard, it will automatically, if the operator is not already at that speed, it will bring it down to the
But it won't
correct speed.
actually stop, so it could still
No,
hit
it would just,
something and
it will start to slow it down,
that's it.
yes.
We couldn't make that adjustment so that it stops actually when. it
Well,
hits-
that's something that we can look at. I mean, we are in the very early stages as far as design. That'll all be covered once we get into, started designing and really get into the details of building the car.
And finally, the insides, we're reducing the number of those side benches that people found so were
That-
so unhappy with.
That is correct. There was actually a study that was done by our CTA planning department with input from the public and how much they may have disliked some of the styles on the 5000. So that's why we have went to very few of the facing seats and moved to more of the front facing seats. So which gives you a little bit more room. Once you can look at the kind of the layout of the seating, you will see some of the great adjustments that will be made to that seating chart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Helen, would you walk us through the due diligence that we did, okay, for the bidders? And I know one of them, okay, we have done business with, okay, the other one we haven't.
That's correct. So I'd like to start out with telling you exactly who we are doing business, if you accept the recommendation, would be CSR Sifang America Joint Venture. And the partners in that are CRRC Qingdao Sifang and CSR America, Inc. CRRC was formerly known as CSR Qingdao Sifang, so I'm going to use CRRC and CSR interchangeably. CRRC's annual sales were $6.5 billion in 2015. CRRC has produced over 30,000 passenger rail cars for over 20 different countries since 1962. We contacted 4 of CSR's customers for a total of 7 contracts. Several of them had multiple contracts with CSR. These transit agencies were in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, China, Singapore, and Argentina. Each of these transit agencies stated that the deliveries were either on time or early. And the vice president in Argentina stated that the work provided by CSR was excellent. Additionally, we hired WSP Parsons Brinkerhoff to perform a pre-award Buy America audit of CSSR's facility in China, and PB concluded that a review of CRRC's proposed production documents and drawings find that the vehicle proposed by CRRC is consistent with the specification requirements in CTA's RFP. Additionally, the site visit to CRRC's facilities in Qingdao, backlog of work, production of documentation, and plans for the U.S. final assembly in Chicago find no issues regarding capability and capacity to accomplish this work during the period of performance as outlined in CTA's RFP.
Can you add, okay, what percentage is made in America?
Sure. What we
Of
did
the
was,
cars?
CSR has proposed, and our CTA staff has accepted 24 suppliers that they intend to use for the components of this vehicle. Out of those 24, 19 either have their headquarters or have facilities in the U.S., and 16 of those we are either currently doing business with or we have done business with.
And are they planning, okay, to set up?
When
any
we spoke to him, as the vice president of supply chain, that was a concern of mine, and we did speak to him about the availability of parts. We do have it in the contract where they have to have parts available for 20 years after the end of the contract, and they did discuss having a warehouse in the United States.
Any questions? Go ahead, please, Terry.
Yeah, Alan, you mentioned that there were 7 cities where they've done business. I know you mentioned 3 of the Asian cities. Anything in North America?
No, they have done, they just signed a contract with Boston last year.
Have we had a chance to talk with Boston?
We've reached out to them several times. We have not heard back from them.
Question I've got, so, what kind of protection do we have in place in the event that they don't hit our targets? Certain milestones. Maybe that's for the general counsel.
Yes, Chairman, I can respond to that. So we have a lot of protection built into this contract. As Mr. Bonds mentioned, our people basically examine every rail car that's delivered, including the prototypes, and nothing is paid for until those cars are accepted by our rail engineers. We also have in the contract liquidated damages for failure to meet delivery deadlines. Those damages equate to about $300 per day late per car. Finally, in this contract, and this again is something that's relatively new, CTA has the ability to stop work for any reason, and there is no additional compensation that is paid to the vendor if the stop work is due to the fault of that particular vendor. And then we have all the other normal protections, such as performance bond or letter of credit. We also, in addition to that, are seeking a parent company guarantee. That's about it.
One other question. So I know there's a lot of upfront costs with this. How much will they have to advance in terms of the upfront cost to get underway? And since we don't pay them till they start producing cars and we say that we're happy with the cars, if they're talking about building facility, starting production, how much out-of-pocket money are they responsible for to kind of get this process to work?
Again, Chairman, as Karen had stated, we won't begin payment until they hit various milestones and until we've accepted the rail
I'm not
car.
worried about our payment, I'm worried more about
So that would
their
be-
ability to, front fund this effort. Do we have a number in terms of what kind of a ballpark that number looks like?
Other than the 28% that's, paid based on the milestones, that, 28% of whatever the total cost of the $632 million.
But that's our cost.
That's our cost, but they're putting up quite a bit of money on their end just to get started with the
Yeah, I'm
project.
just asking, what would the ballpark on their end?
We can get that number for you. We can definitely get that.
So, Chairman, just to add a little bit of that, we did do a financial review of it, of the company as well, and they were deemed suitable to meet the requirements of the contract as part of the procurement. Just if you think about the base order is $632 million, as Don said, 28% is paid on development milestones, and then 72% is paid upon CTA's acceptance of the vehicles.
I want to get back, okay, to the Made in America, okay. You say 24 suppliers are headquartered in the U.S.,
19 of the 24 are either headquarters or have facilities in the United States.
headquarters, or they
Well,
have facility.
When
Are they building a facility in the U.S.?
CSR, yes.
CSR.
They are going to build, they've committed to
So
build.
that's part of the commitment.
Yes, that is part of the commitment. Additionally, PB, when they went out to China, was it was a Buy America audit. And CSR came in at 69%. At this moment, they're required to have 60%. They went above and beyond that. They had 69% Buy America.
Is that facility going to be built in Chicago?
It's expected to be located on the south side of Chicago, approximately 135th and Torrance.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just want a question back to the TIFIA loan. Do we know how much we're gonna save over the life of the loan?
So right now, and again, this is dependent upon where the rate actually is locked in, but we're estimating right now that we're going to save over $75 million vis-a-vis the tax-exempt municipal bond.
So we're going to save 75 million and 250 million in the contract, is that, can we add them up? So that's 300 and something million dollars which will be saving in this project?
That's correct.
Is there a start date for this facility that's going to be built over on the south side, or rough estimate of that approximate build date?
I can look that up for you. I know they expect to have the prototypes in 2019, and the facility would have to be built because they would be assembling them. So I'm between 2018 and 2019, but let me get back to you with an exact date.
I might have missed this. Did you talk about any of the accessibility features of the new cars?
The accessibilities really will be kind of similar to what we currently have with the 5000s, but in addition to what we have on the 5000s, you will have the LED screens that are in the monitors that's going to be in the middle aisle in the top of the car, which will be visible for passengers to see exactly where the car is at, where they're going, and that will kind of give them some more accessibility of trying to move around, maneuver inside the car. And also with the additional chime that's going to be on the outside of the car.
What about for disabled passengers? Are they going to be the same as the regular series, or is it going to be an enhanced improvement for those that are disabled?
It's going to be the same as the 5000s with some enhancements of some of those features that are there. We don't quite know what all those features may be, because that we will get into more detail once the car is starting to be really designed and built.
Do they have any car right now, okay, that is similar to the 5000, or they're starting this from scratch, okay, it's a new model altogether?
This is kind of starting from scratch. It's
Starting from scratch.
With the input from CTA on how we want the car built.
I guess as part of that question I was going to ask, compared to other major transit systems with regards to safety, security, and environmentally friendly, how are we going to compare these with these new rail cars?
I think we will be either at or above some of the standards that's out there currently with some of our peers. We have taken a serious look at some of the cars and some of the vehicles that are in service currently, and I think CTA does kind of stand out with some of the things and enhancements that we will have on the 7000 series car.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Couple questions. I know some of this is going to be worked out down the road, but do you know, will the rail operator have the ability to compose messages from that touchscreen in their booth, like for visual messages?
That is something that we definitely could definitely try to work into it. We haven't really got into the technical portion of that screen, what all they will have the ability to do, but I know it will directly be connected to the control center, and we will be able to send various messages to that because it will be GPS based.
And also, does CSR have any experience building rail cars for a city with a similar climate as Chicago?
CSR provided us with a list of 11 different contracts that they had done, and in it they put the temperatures. There were at least 5 or 6 with almost identical temperatures to Chicago, both cold and hot.
As the car is going to be built together, and we will put a lot of input, okay, in that car, okay, is that going to be proprietary, okay, they can sell the car to anybody else's? Are we going to have any type of,
Well, it depends on some of the, if it's some type of automated maintenance system, that could be one of those cases, but most of it is kind of a common item that we cannot put, just kind of stamp it on CTA only on.
so they can sell it to anybody, okay, get experience with us?
If it's a new type of system, it depends on what that system is before we can say it can only be CTA use only. So if it's a propulsion system that's common in every vehicle, we can't put a stamp on it saying.
Can
to
we
only put-
patent it?
Can we what?
Patent? Get a patent?
I don't think so, no. Because as we stated, most of the vendors that's being used with this company are vendors that currently making parts for a number of different agencies across the world.
Any other questions?
No, I know when you said they're doing work in Boston, they've been there for a year. Do you know what type of rail car they're building for Boston?
I don't exactly, but I can get that information for
Okay,
you.
and there was another country outside of Asia and Boston.
Argentina.
Did we talk with them?
We did speak to Argentina,
Okay.
and we spoke to the vice president, and he told us that their experience with CSR was excellent.
How long ago was that engagement?
And that was in 2013. The first set of cars they were getting delivered, because they had 2 different contracts with them, were 2013 and 2014, and the second set was 2014 and 2015.
Cars delivered on budget, on time?
On time, yes, absolutely.
Okay, what
They
about-
said it was either on time or early. They said they had no issues with them. He said the experience was excellent.
What about budget?
I did not ask that specifically, since he said there were no issues, but I will follow up with him.
As you say, okay, they're building a plant here in the Chicago land area. How many jobs are we creating?
So it's going to be a final assembly facility, and they've committed to create 169 jobs.
169. How many jobs they have in their country?
Oh, they have thousands. It was over 9,000 people, I believe.
Any other questions?
I'd like to follow up a little bit on that, on the jobs. This 169 is the actual number of people they'll employ.
That CSR itself will employ,
So this
yes.
does not include any multipliers.
No, not at all. This is a number of bodies.
So the number of jobs may be 400 or 500, in fact, coming out of this.
Right.
The other thing is that it does not include construction jobs either.
It does not.
Do we know how many construction jobs? will be
I know
created?
they had talked about $16 million in construction costs. I don't have a number on how much construction jobs they'll anticipate getting, but I can certainly ask that question.
There must be some kind of a rule of thumb that says so many jobs per $1 million. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
But I can get you that
In other words,
information.
we get a lot of jobs.
Correct.
That's good.
And we're gonna get a good product.
Yes.
Yes,
At a cheaper price.
right.
Going back to TIFIA, okay, I mean, all of the money that we're getting, okay, is going to be used for the rail car construction?
That's correct.
100%?
Yes.
Regards to this TIFIA,
Go
I'm
ahead.
curious, are there other public entities that are utilizing it? I mean, it seems like we're utilizing these loans very well, so.
Yeah, we're doing a great job of accessing the program. It is a very successful program. The city of Chicago also has executed 2 of these transactions, one for the Riverwalk improvements, as well as one for the Conrack facility, that's the car rental facility out at O'Hare. But it's been a very successful program that other, transportation-related projects have been accessing. Because of its success, actually, the federal government's looking at trying to see how it can roll this type of program out in other areas. But Chicago, CTA, has been very successful in accessing this program and kind of gotten an additional benefit from it. As you see here from this, over $75 million of savings on this project, and you multiply that times the other projects that we've seen and been able to use it on as well.
Good, very good.
In the, you're getting $350 million, right? What is the cost of the total project, okay? Because that's not gonna cover the total project.
The total cost of the project for the 7,000 rail cars?
Yeah.
Including escalation, and if we get all of the rail cars, all of the options, would be $1,407,928,068.
So the difference from the 350 that you're getting, where are they coming from?
So the funding will come from a combination of the TIFIA loan, and just to highlight, the TIFIA loan is actually, based on the program description, only can be a third of the overall cost of any project that it assists in funding. But it'll be TIFIA loan proceeds, CTA bond proceeds, as well as FTA funds will be all coupled together for the overall funding stack.
And they all cover right now? I mean, they all committed to?
Yes, yeah, once we sign that agreement by the end of the month, that loan will be secured, and then we will have that as a source of funding. It works as a drawdown loan, which is actually an additional funding benefit, but we'll draw down funds as needed, for those purchases.
Any other questions?
I have a question. This may be outside the scope of what you discussed with CSR, but did they say anything about using any facility they build in the area for projects beyond the completion of this order?
When we had the negotiations, yes, it was mentioned, they certainly aren't any guarantees, but I think that's their hope, that they would build this facility, and then if they were to get out more work in the United States, they would be able to use this facility, but it is not guaranteed.
Any other questions?
Okay.
If there are no further questions, I will have, if there are no further questions on the rail car purchase contract number A5 under committee agenda, item number 9, purchase on sales award recommendation, may I have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
I'll second.
And if there now I'm going to go into the TIFIA loan ordinance. May I have a leave to place the committee agenda item number 4, the TIFIA loan ordinance on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing a co-promotional trade agreement with the City of Chicago through its Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events for 2016. Mike.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Gwynn, Director of Revenue and Fair Systems. Presented for your consideration is a co-promotion agreement with the City of Chicago's Department of Cultural and Special Events, otherwise known as DCASE. CTA and DCASE, or its predecessor, the Mayor's Office of Special Events, have coordinated in this manner for over 24 years. DCASE organizes several key large events such as Taste of Chicago, the Jazz, Blues, and Gospel Fests, the farmers markets within the city, and the Air and Water Show. All in all, there are 16 festivals or special events that are included in this co-promotion. CTA is providing $1,018,000 in unsold advertising on buses and trains in exchange for sponsorship recognition at the various DCASE events. Unique to this year is the inclusion of larger format car cards for 3 of the events: Taste of Chicago, the Lake Effects Summit and Expo, and the 5th Star Awards, as opposed to the normal car cards. In exchange for this enhanced consideration, CTA will receive dedicated space on the event's websites, which will help elevate CTA's profile to all of the visitors. This promotion will allow CTA to reach out to a larger audience, including visitors and residents who might not currently use the system, and will also encourage use of CTA to access these great events. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
We do this every year, right?
Yes.
Any questions?
I have a question. Are there non-for-profits that benefit from this as well that are involved with DCASE?
DCASE is just the city events. There are other 2FM at the city of Chicago handles some of the other internal to the city departments. They've been known to coordinate with some outside agencies in the past together. Co-promotion is it is open to other nonprofit entities. This program, they can just contact our department and we can help them through it.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a zoning bonus contribution pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning ordinance, Blue Line. Carol, good morning.
Good morning. Carol Maury,
Good morning.
Chief Planning Officer. The first ordinance would allow the acceptance of a zoning bonus contribution pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning ordinance in the amount of $933,767.52 for a development located at 1061 West Van Buren Street. The development will consist of a new 24-story mixed-use building with 298 dwelling units. The bonus must be used within 2,000 feet of the development site to fund transit improvements. Staff anticipates using the money to fund track work on the Congress branch of the Blue Line and artwork at the new Peoria entrance to the UIC Halsted Station. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
We're just being asked to take money, right?
Exactly.
If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of a permanent easement for certain property located at 444 West Lake Street, Chicago. Carol?
The second ordinance would authorize the CTA to acquire a permanent easement for property located at 444 West Lake Street. The easement is being granted by River Point LLC, which is constructing a 50-story office tower on the property. The easement will allow CTA to access the West Bank Electrical Pump Room, which is located on the north side of West Lake Street, east of Canal. It's under the bridge over the Chicago River. The West Bank Pump Room provides electrical power for emergency lighting in the Blue Line subway and includes the main switchgear for the CTA groundwater evacuation pumps, which keep the Dearborn subway free of water. The cost of the easement is $1, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
That's good. Any questions?
It does.
If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus.
So moved.
Second.
Our next order of business is the review of an ordinance authorizing the lease of authority property located at 833 West Emerson Street, Evanston, Illinois, Purple Line. Carol?
This ordinance would permit the lease of a vacant parcel located at 833 West Emerson Street in Evanston. It was acquired in 1953 from one of our predecessor railroads and is not necessary for transit operations. It has been leased on a short-term basis for parking for $5,460 per year. We advertised the property for a long-term lease, and we received one bid from CA Focus Evanston for the minimum rent amount of $15,120, which was established pursuant to an appraisal. The lease is for 20 years with one, the lease is for 10 years with one 10-year option and has a 3% annual rent escalation. The property will be used for residential parking, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
It's too far away from any park and ride, right?
Correct.
Questions? If there are no further questions, I ask leave to place this item on the omnibus.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Our final order of business today is the review of 8 purchases and sales award recommendations. Ellen, we will start with contract numbers A1 to A4 as A5 has been covered. Any questions?
On
Go ahead, please.
I've never seen one of these before. Maybe I should have noticed it. So we repair a single bus. Is something unusual about this? What
Yes.
happened to this one?
This bus was in an accident while it was driving. It hit a manhole cover, so it damaged the bus from the underneath. So this is why we're entering into this contract, just to repair this one bus. We want to get it back to the state of good repair, and this is the only company that will maintain the warranties.
So in other cases, buses have accidents. In other cases, we repair them ourselves. Is that it?
Normally we repair the buses ourselves, but because of this damage was to the structural frame itself, there are specialists who actually have to repair the structure, and in order to maintain the warranty for the bus itself, we need to take it to a specialist to do that. So that's why this is a unique type of procurement for us.
So this is an unusual thing. It's
Yes.
not that my age is dealing with my memory here.
No, it's not. This is not normally the way we deal with bus repairs in our system. Yes.
Any other questions from A1 to A4? So let's move to B1 and B2. Any questions? The change order, okay, in B1, Ellen. Chris. In the B1, in the change order, okay, of Kiwi, can you just bring us up to
Well,
date?
fundamentally, it's a $5 million credit to close out the Dan Ryan Track and Station project, or as we generally called it, the Red South. You'll take notice that this project unusually actually has a negative change order rate. So we've taken credits on the contract in the amount indicated here of about 2%. So most projects would, I like to shoot for a low, especially on older pieces of infrastructure, a very low change order rate. Well, this
Right.
in fact is a negative change order rate, so it's somewhat unusual in that regard.
Any questions? So they're going to give us $5 million back.
Yes, that's the total credit. Yep.
So total credit of $5 million, but item number 17, I think we did a little bit over. So net back to CTA is a credit of about 4.5 million, right?
Right.
Okay.
Any questions? So we will review contract number, thank you, Chris. D1, any questions?
On D1, I'm very delighted actually when I saw D1. So we're going ahead with signal priority. Am I correct?
Yes, we are.
Any questions in D1?
No questions, I'm just happy.
Okay, good.
We're excited as well.
Very good. And finally, we will review contract number G1. Any questions? No questions, okay, for the internet, okay. If there are no further questions, may I have leave to place these 8 contracts on the omnibus for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Since there is no further business to come before this committee, may I have a motion to recommend board approval on the omnibus? May I have a second?
I'll second.
Will the secretary call the roll, please?
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Chairman Silva?
Yes.
The motion to approve the omnibus is approved with 6 yes votes.
Finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say yes. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Morning.
I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled meeting of Chicago Transit Board for March 9th, 2016. Would the secretary call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Irvine.
Here.
Dr. Sen. Here. Ms. Rosales.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood.
Here.
Chairman Peterson.
Here.
We have a quorum with 6 members of the board present.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is public comment.
Yes, it's my understanding we have one public comment speaker. Mr. George Blakemore, would you please step up? We contacted you a while ago. And please address the board. Thank you, sir.
In a city, a global city, an international city, a great city, and you only have one public speaker, and you have a limited time to speak. According to the Open Meetings Act, they have 2 or 3 minutes. That's when you have a line of public speakers wanting to speak on an issue. However, since you only have one today, perhaps you can be very sensitive and remember, I am from the public. I'm not getting paid. However, I decided to be a performer. You know, they say black people like to sing and dance and be artistic and literature and art. So that shows culture and civilization. So I came to CTA to get a performance pass for the subway. I discovered a subculture down in the subway. The average, I challenge you board members, when you're getting paid $25,000 to sit on this board, to you ride the subway, ride the bus, to actually see what's going on with our transportation system. We have a world-class CTA transportation system. But the citizens' input and your input, I didn't know this exists. I went to perform there. The other performers envy, jealous, or whatever, and the CTA workers also was a part of this. I was terrorized. What happened? 2 times my boombox or Xbox were thrown on the tracks. They had to stop the train. They put the citizens of our great city and the tourists at risk. How could this exist? So I challenge you, for those rules and regulations, for those performers who perform in this subway with this subculture down there. You regulate it. You regulate it. It creates a safety problem, not only for me, but for other riders. A lot of the homeless, whatever the political system that created homelessness, they hang out right where the performers perform. They sell drugs. All kind of shenanigans is going on. But the average citizen can't see it because from 2 to 3 minutes, your subway system is so good that people catch it and connect it and go. They don't even know what's going on down there. But God gave me an opportunity as a performer there to actually see that subculture. I challenge you to clean it up. I was terrorized down there. Clean it up.
Mr. Blakemore.
Mr. Blakemore, if you would like to ask me questions.
I want to ask you, what was the location you were at?
I was 2 times. I was at Jackson on the Blue Line twice, and then I was also at the Red Line at Jackson. These are very busy stops, and the performers, the majority of them, are very good and respectable. But your rules and regulations have to be in place. They say, you've been here since since 1 o'clock. It's time to go. You have no time limit on once someone show up and want to perform. If you should have a time limit. If not, you shouldn't be harassed to move. First come, first serve. I was also told that you're not supposed to hook up to CTA electric outlet. However, all the performers do hook up, and maybe that's good because a lot of them use electronics. But CTA say you can't do it. So they tell me to take mine out, and then they let the CTA workers let somebody else put theirs there. So God have sent me there. I'm on a mission. I didn't ask to go there. I just thought I could just go down there and just dance. And,
Excuse me, Mr. Blakemore.
yeah, if I've exceeded my minutes. Do you have another
Yes,
question?
Mr. Blakemore,
Yes.
we're very aware, you've spoken to me a number of times, you've spoken to security.
Yeah, and security, you have been wonderful. The CTA security have been very good. Gerald Nichols, all of them have been wonderful. And it's good because you can clean up this saga down here and make it safe for the riders. So again, I'm not here to criticize the CTA, our world-class transportation. I'm here to give you an input of a subculture that's happening in this subway that perhaps you're not aware of. So I challenge each one of you to be a little, do a little investigation. Task force of one, you're getting paid. Go down there yourself and see what's going on. May God bless, and in return, may each one of you bless somebody else. And I challenge all the great citizens who use CTA, come and speak. One speaker with a big transportation system, it shows something, and it's not good. We want citizen participation, and may God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Howard Urban, not here. That concludes our public comment section of today's meeting, sir.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is the approval of the February 10, 26 board minutes that were previously distributed. I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of February the 10th, 2016.
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Ms. Alba Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is executive session. It is my understanding, Karen, that there will be an executive session today.
Yes, Chairman, we will have an executive session pursuant to Section 2 of the Open Meetings Act, and specifically subparagraphs 1, 5, and 11.
Thanks, Karen. I will now entertain a motion to recess into executive session for the reasons so stated by council.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen?
Yes.
Ms. Alba Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion to recess into executive session is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thank you.
My mic's on.
That's true. Thank you.
All right, Jim, whenever you're ready.
I would now entertain a motion to return to open session of today's board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen? Yes. Ms. Alvarez-Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion to return to open session is approved with six yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is board item number 4A, discussed in executive session. Karen?
Yes, Chairman, this is a recommendation for approval of a settlement in the amount of $1.2 million in the Sarma versus CTA and Sheila Witherspoon lawsuit, case number 2011L10288. This is an incident that occurred on September 23rd, 2011, involving a accident between a pedestrian and a bus where the plaintiff had several fairly severe injuries, medical expenses in the amount of $309,000. The Law Department is recommending that the board approve that this lawsuit be resolved for $1.2 million.
Thank you, Karen. I now entertain a motion to approve board item number 4A, a settlement recommendation of $1.2 million in the case of Ms. Surma versus CTA and Sheila Witherspoon in the Circuit Court of Cook County, case number 2011L10268.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen? Yes. Ms. Alvarez-Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion to approve the settlement passes with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business today is board item number 4B, also discussed in executive session. Karen?
Yes, Chairman. Item 4B is a recommendation for the board to authorize the acquisition of real property located at 340107 North Clark Street in Chicago for the Red and Purple Modernization Project. This property was identified as one of the 23 parcels that the board designated for acquisition for RPM back last year. The CTA has negotiated with the property seller, 3401 North Clark LLC, and the parties have agreed to a purchase price for this property of $1.9 million, and planning and law recommend this purchase at this price to the board for approval.
Thank you, Karen. I now entertain a motion to approve board item number 4B, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 3401 to 07 North Clark Street, Chicago, Illinois, for the Red and Purple Modernization Project.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sen? Yes. Ms. Alvarez-Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion to approve the Clark Street project is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. And now, our next order of business is board item number 4C, also discussed in executive session. Karen?
Chairman, item 4C is a recommendation from the infrastructure and the planning staff to designate for acquisition the air rights of 6 various parcels of property. And this ordinance would simply designate or start the process for us to begin sort of evaluation and negotiation with the property owners. These air rights have been deemed necessary by infrastructure and planning staff in order for the location and placement of track signal platforms and switch platforms. And so they are asking that the board designate these 6 parcels for acquisition for Red Purple Modernization.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I now entertain a motion to approve board item number 4C, an ordinance designating for acquisition the air rights of various parcels of property and authorizing negotiations for their purchase and execution of right of entry agreement as required for the Red Purple Modernization Project.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sun? Yes. Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
That motion is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is board matters. Both of these ordinances have been previously distributed for review. With that, I now entertain a motion to approve board item number 5A, an ordinance appointing Jeremy Fine, Treasurer of Chicago Transit Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sun?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
Motion to approve item number 5A is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. Before I move on to the next item, I also wanted to just take a moment to thank Tom. Where's Tom at? For all of his work. Tom, when Ron went over to CPS, you stepped up, did an incredible job for the board. You told us we would end FY15 with a balanced budget. We ended FY15 with a balanced budget. Tom is staying on. He's moving into the president's office and will continue to stay engaged. And I just wanted to, on behalf of the board, acknowledge all of your hard work and the success that we had during your tenure as the acting CFO, Tom. So thank you on behalf of the board. I now entertain a motion to approve board item number 5B, an ordinance appointing a trustee and an alternate to the Board of Trustees of the Retirement Plan for Chicago Transit Authority employees.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sun?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
Motion to approve item number 5B is approved with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is a report from the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Director Silva.
The Committee of Finance, Audit, and Budget met earlier this morning. The committee reviewed the finance report, and the committee approved the February 10th, 2016 committee minutes. The committee also reviewed and recommended for board approval the following items: an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 014-050, authorizing the borrowing of money through a TIFIA loan and issuance of TIFIA bonds not to exceed $350 million, and the making of other provisions with respect to said TIFIA loan to fund the rail fleet renewal project. An ordinance authorizing a co-promotional trade agreement with the City of Chicago through its Departments of Cultural Affairs and Special Events for 2016. An ordinance authorizing acceptance of a zoning bonus contribution pursuant to the City of Chicago zoning ordinance Blue Line. An ordinance authorizing the acquisition of a permanent easement for certain property located at 444 West Lake Street, Chicago, Illinois. An ordinance authorizing the lease of authority property located at 833 West Emerson Street, Evanston, Illinois, and 9 purchase and sales award recommendations. The committee recommended approval of all these items and place them on the omnibus for board approval. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Director Silva. May I now have a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Silva?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvine?
Yes.
Dr. Sun?
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez Rosales?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
The motion to approve the omnibus passes with 6 yes votes.
Thanks, Greg. The next order of business is a construction report. Chris?
Chris Bouchel, your Chief Infrastructure Officer.
Mary Person, Director of Diversity.
So today we'll be talking about 4 projects: the 95th Street Terminal Improvement Program, the Wilson Transfer Station, the current Year New Blue project on the O'Hare line at Addison, Irving Park, Montrose, Harlem, and Cumberland. And we'll be focusing on Addison and the progress there for the accessibility project. And then finally, a new project, a track project on the west side, repairing existing ballasted track from Laramie to Harlem. So bringing some track work to the west side to improve our service on the Green Line. So the 95th Terminal Improvement Project continues. We have, as noted here, completed AP1 and are drawing towards the end of AP2. That Advanced Placement 2 is the construction of the exterior foundation walls of the new South Terminal. That work is coming to conclusion in the spring of this year. The new contract, the design-build contract for the construction of the South Terminal, the completion of the construction of the South Terminal and the North Terminal is underway. It's currently being designed, and we're working diligently with Mary and her team on the letting of the first contracts associated with that third component of this project. As we go through here, you'll again see pictures that look very similar to what you saw on the west side in constructing the wall on the east side. We have generally enjoyed favorable weather over the course of the winter, and this work has progressed per schedule and budget. And as again I said, it looks very familiar, very similar to what we did on the other side of the expressway, because it is. It's the basically the symmetrical work on the other side. And these are the outside walls. They basically become the edge of the new busway that gets constructed for that South Terminal. The Wilson transfer station.
Before you move on to the next one, I just got a question, because you talked about the first phase finishing up with Walsh and 2 and 1. And Mary, I don't know if you have the numbers, but just wanted to make sure that the board got a report in terms of, did they fulfill their obligation around DVE before they move on. I know the second GC coming on is Passion and Millhouse, but I would just like for the board to know that they accomplish the DVE commitment that was made in the first phase.
Sure, Chairman. Actually, Walsh exceeded their goal. Walsh had a goal set of 30%. They committed to 35%, and they actually attained 37%. So Walsh did an extraordinary job of making sure they engaged with the DBEs on every possible phase of the project.
Okay. Do you know if we used any of the former DBEs from the Red Line South reconstruction?
Yes, a number. I don't have the exact number, but a number of the DBEs were used from the Dan Ryan project.
Okay.
And we've been able to use them on various construction projects also.
And have we had an opportunity to do a meet and greet with the new GC that's coming on for the second phase?
Yes, for the 95th Street Terminal with Passion, we conducted 3 workshops along with 1 meet and greet. The meet and greet was to initially engage everyone, and then we created workshops to help them fill out the pre-qualification packet that Passion required the subcontractors to fill out. So we asked our assist agencies to help our contractors to make sure that the paperwork wasn't tedious or they didn't understand anything. So we had 3 workshops over the course of 2 weeks to help those contractors who needed the help.
Okay, thanks.
So moving on to Wilson. Wilson continues on time and on schedule. We are approaching a phase change here where we'll be opening track 1 and the new platform in the late winter, early spring here. So I look forward to that effort. We've got some great pictures here showing how the work is progressing. There are some details relative to the construction in the bullet points. Actually, those of you that go by there on a daily basis will now notice that this platform canopy has the vast majority of the polycarb on it, so it is progressing fast. Much of the electrical is being done up there. Extensive work is occurring on the 2, not only on this ramp here, which is going to be an auxiliary exit initially, and then subsequently an accessible auxiliary entrance and exit. Then also work is progressing aggressively on the 2 main exits there at Wilson, both of which will be set up initially temporarily while the rest of the station houses get built. Whoops, oh dear. So moving on to the Your New Blue and the Addison project. Again, most of the work is occurring at the Addison station right now. We are in the process of making that station accessible as well as doing repairs to the platforms. You'll remember from earlier photographs, we constructed or in the process of constructing an extension off of the end of the platform. That gives us then enough room to do demolition near the main station house into which a new elevator will go. So the extension is, there are details that need to be done on it, but that is nearing completion. Now we've started to do demolition right near the station house for the area that will ultimately house that elevator. We closed the station last weekend, I believe, to do a substantial portion of that demolition. Now we're going to be closing parts of the platform to do structural repairs to the platform as well. We'll do those in kind of 3 weeks segments, so we'll have half of the platform closed. We will be running trains through there during the day, but the platform itself will be closed. All of that is explained, has been explained to our customers in various releases, but it's a significant piece of work and really important to the ultimate product that we're going to deliver out there. You can see some of the pouring of this is the extension part of the platform, pouring the concrete for it on the overnight. The reason that we're starting on the southbound side here is because you can kind of see in this picture the access to the reversible lanes in this particular project is pretty critical. So we are starting out there to give the contractor the advantage in beginning that work in the demolition. Moving to the lake line, we're going to be having further announcements about this project coming into the spring, but essentially it's a track project on the ballasted section of the Green Line. We call it Railroad North, but it's really the far west side of the Green Line and in the west side of the city as well. So we'll be removing and replacing track that, while there isn't a significant amount of slow zone today, is work that if we didn't do would become slow zones very quickly. So again, it's part of our overall investment in minimizing those slow zones to both make sure our passengers are traveling as quickly as they can between 2 points, but also to keep them as safe as possible. No photographs yet. Work hasn't started, but announcements will be forthcoming. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Chris?
I just had a question about Addison. So Addison will be finished in advance of the other stations?
Well, I'll say that Addison is a bigger piece of work. So the entire project really wraps up at about the same time. So the customer impacts to Addison will be over with quicker, but the assembly and the commissioning of the elevator is a detailed process that will probably take it right to the end of the project with the other work. So for the most part, Addison really concludes when the project is done towards the end of this year.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Chris? Chris, I don't have a question. I just wanted to comment that I really thank the staff as I look at both the 95th Street Terminal, the Wilson, as well as the O'Hare, change orders on the 1%. On two of them, there's been no change orders thus far at Wilson Yard, as well as the O'Hare. And even at the 95th Street, I think it's under 1%. So, we always talk about on budget, on time, but I mean on time and on schedule. But I think also it's important to note that the contractor's performing within the budget that they said they would build the product to do the construction on. So kudos to you and the staff and also the owner's rep who's working with us out there. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Greg, is there any new business to come before the board?
No, sir.
Since there is no new business to come before the board, I'd now like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I guess second.
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 All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.